So the other day I ended up picking up one of these, a 320 kilometer per hour Nismo Speedo for the old GTR here. And unfortunately, this one is a pre-1991 Nismo Speedo, and that's the 1994 R32 GTR. So I'm going to be ripping out the Speedo from this car and doing the cluster conversion, which is pretty straightforward. It's just changing a high gas sensor which is attached to the back of the Speedo there over. So one of the first things you need to do is remove all of the screws which are attached to the bottom of this plate here, so you can pull this down, so you can lift this plastic surround here out to remove the cluster initially. And there should be one on the side here, two underneath and two on the other side there to drop this down. So once you remove all four of those screws, you should be able to just pull this down. So once you've pulled all those 6 screws out, you should be able to expose these 4 screws which are attached to this plastic panel here. And once you've pulled those taken these 3 screws out, then you're about to start attacking and pulling this out, and then again the top 2 screws. So once you've removed those 3 screws at the bottom, you're going to remove these screws which are up the top here, which is here, and of the other top hand side there, which is there. And then you should be okay for the rest of the Speedo. Once you've removed the top screws at the top here, there should be 2 furthermore screws on either side of this plastic surround here, which are up here, underneath there, and on the other side, up here. Once you remove those, your cluster surround should be loose, and you should be able to pull this bit down here and kind of slide it over. I won't be able to do it while holding the camera, so I'll see if I can do it and show you afterwards. So you're going to kind of pull it up and over that bit which we had pulled down there to try and rest it over the top, so then you can get in behind and unplug all of the connectors from the back of your surround. Once you do that, you'll be able to get full access to your Speedo, all the screws, and it should be pretty easy from there. So once your Speedo is exposed here, it all should be relatively straightforward. It should just be taking out this screw here, that screw there, this screw down the bottom left there, and this screw down the bottom right. Once you do that, it should be all go. From there, it's pretty straightforward. Everything unplugs and you're able to unclip the 3 connectors from the back of your Speedo, here, here, and here. And how they come out, there's just 2 connectors on either side, and you just pinch them together and pull out. So it's not on one side like the other ones, it's on both sides. Just pinch them and pull out. It's pretty straightforward. So we have the old and new Speedos lined out here. I'm just going to start pulling them apart, putting all the gauges and that sort of stuff. It seems to be all the same colours, so it should be alright for putting back together. And pretty much I'm just going to pull this Nismo cluster out, change a couple of components off, and put it into my old one there, so I won't have to worry about changing stuff on the old cluster, which is easy. For pulling the face plates here off, so don't pull the front glass off here, pull it off from the back tabs, so the back tabs which go into the white plastic. For pulling that off, I found it easier to start from the bottom sides here, pull them off, pry them all off as you go along. Then you can kind of lift it and pull it out from the, pulling out towards you, rather than starting from the top. It's a hell of a lot easier for getting your Speedo in and out. So what I'm going to do now is pull the speedometer out, and to do that, you have to take these 4 screws out of the back there to pop the cluster out. Make sure when popping the cluster out, you don't get any fingerprints or smudges on these little glass bits here, because they will not come out, that's for sure. And even on the faceplate here, it's really hard to get them out if you do. So for the old one, I will be doing exactly the same thing, which will be undoing just the 2 screws from the back here. They don't have 4, they only have 2. I've got both the old Nismo cluster out and the new one out. And as you can see, there's not much difference between the two. They both have cracks down the side there, as you can see. And the new one seems to be in a little bit better condition, but they always seem to crack at the back there. But there's not much difference in the two clusters, apart from the high gas sensor, which you'll see right there. With the 94, they have a high gas sensor which runs along here, which is the new electronic one, where the two screws go into the back. With the old 91 model, they have this massive, big plastic one, which also there's wires coming off it, for their high gas sensor, and it was revised from the pre-91 to post-91. So that was one of the biggest changes. So, for changing the clusters over, what we need to do from the 94 gauge we have here, from the 91 to the 94, is that we need to take the this high gas sensor off here, and we need to take this arm off, this setter's arm, which we have down here. I don't think we will have to take that off, but we'll see. Apart from that, it should be all straightforward and actually go ahead nicely. Actually, I don't know what this little arm is for, but I don't think we'll need it. We'll soon find out. We'll see if we do. It's easy enough just to remove a screw from the side there and put it in there, because we have a screw hole there, but we'll see if we do need it. But first of all, we'll remove this sender and we'll put this one on this. We will actually have to take this plastic 320 face panel here off to get to that screw, which you can see behind that bit of plastic glass there. So what I will do is take those two screws off. What I did to get that screw out was that I just unscrewed these screws just a little bit and was able to get the screwdriver and just, without touching this with the screwdriver, I was able to bump it up a little bit, just enough to fit the screwdriver underneath it into that gap like that and unscrew it. So that's how I managed to get this early instrument out, which worked out really well. What I'm going to do now with the old one is pull this one here, this sensor out, because this is the new one, this is the new one, and put that in. So it should be just one screw there. That screw there to take this, I don't know what this kind of thing is, a silver bit which goes over the speedometer there, and put it onto the existing 320 old Speedo. So that onto there, and they already have the screw holes there, so they've got the screw holes for that there, and the screw hole for that there, so, sorry, the screw hole for that there, and the screw hole for that there, so it should work out pretty well. So once you've attached that back high gas bar to the back of the speedometer, you can now put your speedo back in, which is pretty easy. I just rest the speedo up against a chair or something like that, and kind of just rest it in there so it pops out the back, and then drop it down like that, and then you can attach the 4 screws on the back of it. This bit which goes over where the where it ticks over the sort of the tacho kind of thing for ticking over how many kilometers you have done in your car. Didn't actually need to take that off. I'm pretty sure that this, what this does is that it actually puts a bit of pressure on the bar which runs across here with those white sort of gears on it. It puts pressure on those, and what it does is that it actually it stops it from vibrating and moving around. So the Speedo looks a lot sort of, actually pretty, actually not that straight, but compared to what that is, which is a little bit bent, is a hell of a lot straighter on this one. So next step which I'm going to do is that this is the faceplate from my 94, which as you can see, the difference between the 94 and the post 91 and the pre 91 is that the indicators at the top, that's the main difference. And for some reason, this one has actually pretty puckered up with some cracks and so on. My one is mint, one I had. It's interesting, I didn't actually realise with the GTRs, it must be the same as the GTS4 or something like that, because there's a cruise control light here. I don't know if some GTRs came out with cruise control, but I'm assuming it was for the automatic GTS4s, which had cruise control already in the car. But yeah, that's the only thing. You don't have that with that one there. But I'm going to put this face plate on because it's a hell of a lot cleaner, looks a hell of a lot better, and also because it's a 94 one. Back on top there, and we should be all go. So if we're putting the Speedo back in, it's exactly the same repeat process. What I did though is that did the opposite, and I put the top in first. So on this one, what I'll do is I'll show you. Now the Speedo's not in, but you get the picture. You grab this, and what I did is I clipped the top 4 in, and then from there I kind of popped it down. So popped it down from there. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. And for taking it off, do the complete reverse process. So what I found easiest was to pop these bottom tabs off. So it's already partially popped off for me. Pop those bottom tabs off. Hang on. Bottom tabs popped off. It was as easy as lifting it out, and then you're done. Another thing is if your GTR has this in a Speedo, this little box which is on the back here, I believe this is the chime unit, so it connects to the back there where that screw goes in. I don't know where this other, somebody's disconnected, I don't know, someone's disconnected the positive here, which I imagine would have gone down to, I don't know, somewhere else, some other screw, maybe into here or something like that. But that is the chime unit, I'm pretty sure, which chimes when you go over 110 kilometers per hour in your car, which is kind of a cool thing to have, but probably really annoying if you got a GTR. But that's the conversion all done, so time to put this baby back in the GTR. So exactly the same repeat process when putting this back in. All you need to do, grab a Speedo, flip it over. If you notice on these 94s as well, they have blue backings where the other ones have kind of like an orangey yellow. But what you need to do is you need to grab a Speedo, have a look closer, grab Speedo and start clipping all these in. There we go. That's all done. And after that, you just going to kind of fold it back over. Try and slide it back in there without damaging the tabs or anything on the Speedo, because these things are really prone to breaking. I don't know if you notice when pulling the Speedo out, if you are doing this. I've got this back in here now. Now I can start putting these screws back in. So it should be, just remember, just these 4 screws back in there, top, top, bottom, bottom. Easy. All these screws are already back in. Now it's just the hard part now, which is grabbing these, all these cables we have here for your Speedo. Quite common for these to actually burn out as well. Just a quick note for the, not for the hazard, for the light dim thing. For the what do you call it? Lights. My lights at some stage had burnt out, so that's why it looks all naggy, which is a bit yuck. Thank God for fuses. But next step, putting this back in. This is a hard bit actually, because you're going to try to get over the steering wheel. But once you put it in, I find it easiest to slide it over the top here. Slide it over the top here, and then put it down, and do the repeat process of putting it down below these. The sides that look more awkward, but you put it down below these, and then start doing the 4, 5, 6 screws up, and obviously the last one on the side door. So the Speedo's all on in now, all done and dusted, and it's looking mint. It wasn't too bad of a process. It probably took me in total of maybe, I don't know, 50 minutes kind of thing to do it all, and obviously filming that sort of stuff. But yeah, it didn't take too long at all. It was actually pretty easy and pretty straightforward. I had a little a link online which I looked at, but I was kind of just piecing together the puzzle and just looking at which was on the old Speedo, and seeing what's in the new one and dropping and changing, obviously. But I think one of the biggest things is changing it over to the old Speedo backing, because that actually has all the components and wiring which are obviously for the 94 car. But yeah, hopefully it goes all right and that sort of stuff. I gave it a quick test before, just by turning the Speedo, just to make sure there was no broken cogs or anything like that. But everything seemed good.